everyone. Welcome to WMHC FM South Hadley. This is 91.5. This is our special programming day. We have Otter with us. Say hello, Otter.
Hey.
Hello, listeners.
And this is going to be a quick interview session, getting to know the band, because tonight they'll be playing at Night Fest at Mount Holyoke College. So if you can, come and check it out. So let's start with introductions. Who are you guys?
Sure, I'm Josh Spears, and I play bass and sing.
I'm Jeremy. I play drums.
I'm Matt. I play guitar.
I'm Ryan. I play piano and more recently synth, and
Ooh,
more
synth.
recently melodica.
everything, just everything. So tell me about the history of your band. Like, how did you guys get together?
Sure. I guess it started at the end of freshman year. We all went to Skidmore College, and I met Matt and Jeremy through the gospel choir there. They were singing, and I was playing bass for the choir, so they got to know my playing a little bit, and the three of these guys have been pals since freshman year. I was
Yeah,
kind
we
of a loser.
had been in a band called Creamy Jif and the Peanut Butter Dreams.
I wasn't invited.
It's very exclusive.
I didn't-
He
I didn't
wasn't.
make the
He
cut.
wasn't as peanut buttery.
Yeah.
So that summer after freshman year, we all started playing together, and then beginning of sophomore year, under a different and less fortunate name, started playing together as a band, and went on from there.
So you've been together for how long now?
Since
This is a relationship, actually.
This
is a
This is your
relationship.
anniversary.
the first time we played in any sort of combination of these people was summer after freshman year. It was me, Josh, I think, and Matt playing at my house.
And then we added
Yeah,
Ryan,
sure.
so it's been 4 years? 3 years?
3
3 or 4 years or so. Yeah, so after freshman year, and we just graduated, yeah.
So what made you choose the name Otter? And I'm looking at your logo here. People who are listening can just Google Otter, the band, I guess. It's really funky looking, but there's an otter and there's an owl and a fox and a dog. What does all this mean?
Yeah, so we were recording up in New Hampshire, and we had a different name before, but it was actually taken by another band. So we needed a new band, and we were assigning spirit animals one night.
You
Right.
asked me what my spirit animal
Oh, that's what it was, yeah.
And my spirit animal's an otter.
Certainly. Hands down. Like,
Certainly.
It's uncanny.
He loves eating stuff off his stomach.
So we just started assigning each other spirit animals, so you'll see on that, and we brought you guys stickers too.
Oh, great. WMHC now has official Otter stickers.
You do.
Everyone come by to the
Yeah.
station and check them out.
We'll be handing more out tonight, but so we all of our, those are the rest of our spirit animals, and you can try and guess who's who, connect the animal to the person if you like.
Do you get a prize if you guess correctly?
You do, yeah.
Yeah.
You get the sticker. Yeah, so that's how it came together.
Yeah, and the artwork is done by Leah Carey. She is also a Skidmore graduate, same year as us. And her art is incredible, so we saw her do something in that style and immediately wanted her to do our art.
Nice. So let's talk about your sound. I know in previous interviews you guys have said, "Oh, we don't really have a specific label for our sound."
Is that
and
how
you
we
mentioned
sounded?
that's my interpretation.
Okay, Josh.
Don't worry. You mentioned you don't like the label jam band. Have you
Yeah.
figured out your sound label yet? Do you know what you are?
I think it's not so much that we don't like the label jam band, or that we don't like what other people think of the label jam. At least that's what I think. It kind of unfortunately has some, I don't know, some bad things that follow it that people believe. But in a way, it's the most accurate way to describe us because we do love to improvise, and among a structure and a song. But
Yeah, we're trying to reclaim, I guess, the good things about the title. Jam band.
It's also interesting because we have such diverse backgrounds in music. So we all bring some different aspect to the table. And I think the sound, we have some songs where we do more jazzier stuff or more reggae-ier stuff. And I think that it's interesting because our own interests personally have kind of evolved into the band into a kind of smorgasbord of all these different things. So it's hard. That's why it's
So
hard.
your genre is smorgasbord.
It's
Yeah.
smorgasbord
Of
yeah.
things.
Okay.
Smorgasbord of things.
We also like to listen to like what people try to describe us as. Recently, we've been hearing people describe us as like southern rock.
Yeah.
Which we
couple
we
times,
do.
yeah.
which
I
is-
listen to.
which
I listen
surprises
to.
us.
And we never like
Yeah.
thought about that
Yeah.
before. Usually we say kind of like dance rock, kind of funk.
Yeah, I get more of the
Right.
modern boogie funk.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm okay with
That's
that.
it.
Okay,
Modern
rebrand.
boogie
I neglected to mention to our listeners that we have many WMHC members in the studio right now because we're just so excited
Yeah.
about everything. So
We are
I'm
too.
Miranda, so I start off this session, and Ella wants to continue asking you guys questions and probing your minds.
Please,
So
yeah,
take it
bring
away,
it.
Ella.
Bring it.
Hello.
Hey, Ella.
Hi.
So I'm going to ask you a couple more questions about your sound.
Yeah.
So was it first kind of awkward trying to like bring all your? Did you synchronize your sounds
great question.
automatically, or did it take a little time to work out the minks to get to your full?
Our
sound
sound,
pretty
now?
automatic.
it's always evolving. Our
Oh.
sound or our relationship as friends.
Your sound.
Sound, okay.
But I guess if it's
Yeah.
parallel.
No, we all hate each other.
other.
The sound, it's evolving. It's still evolving, and like I think we're really happy with the ways it's changing now. We've all been listening to a lot of the same stuff. I think kind of neo soul like music and trying to incorporate that. But there are a lot of songs. I think the best way to look back and see how the sound has changed is to see the songs we don't play anymore and figure out like, okay, so why did that one not work? Or songs that like one of us brought to the band and we tried playing it, but it like didn't quite work. It's a tricky thing figuring out, like, because we all are songwriters and we write for ourselves, but then like, does this fit for Otter, or is it, does it work with the rest of us is always hard to find.
Great. And you touched up a little bit on it, but I wanted to ask you, what bands do you look to for inspiration? Do you all have different? Because you're all songwriters, so do you all
Yeah.
have different inspirations?
Recently, I've been listening to a lot of Wilco. I love Jeff
Yeah.
Tweedy's songwriting. But then there's another group called Moonchild that we've all been really loving. Like different things from different groups. Like
Yeah,
I love
exactly.
what Rubble Bucket does live.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like insane, and it's such an experience. But then, trying to think of another.
Yeah, but I think that's a good way to put it. Different things, like different groups contribute different things to your song, right? So like, if I'm trying to figure out chord changes, I love gospel music and jazz music. I think the chords are really beautiful and interesting. But for structure, maybe The Who, a rock band, and that can be in any combination of what they're contributing. So it's definitely sporadic and depends on the song as well.
Jeremy and I were talking recently about something like it's really hard to use your influences, to figure out how to utilize your influences, because it's one thing to just like steal a part from another band or sound like you're playing a song like another band could versus you're influenced by this and it sounds like you, but you can tell where it's coming from a little bit. It's tricky to fit that balance.
Yeah. So, what's your songwriting process like as individuals or as a band?
It usually starts off individually. We'll write songs for ourselves. Usually the process happens where me, Josh, and Matt have written most of the songs, and then we'll sing whatever song we do. But when we bring the song to the table, it's really a team process, a lot of collaboration with each other. It normally turns out to be a different song, like in my case, the songs I had than I had in mind, but turns out way better than I could have imagined it to be. So it starts individual, but you really weave it in with each other, different ideas and things like that.
It's more like you bring the skeleton to the table, and then everyone else kind of fills in the other parts.
I like
of
that,
it.
the skeleton.
Like, yeah, I mean, most of the times that we bring in a song, it's like, I know what I'm gonna do, or I know this somewhat of an idea, but then when everyone else brings things, that gives way to, oh, well, we could go this way with it instead, or that could shatter totally my initial thought of what I would have thought.
Yeah, that's why, and like you were saying before about the whole relationship, and like how long, what's our anniversary. That's where like it really is a relationship, because you know you're bringing forth like very vulnerable personal ideas that songs are, baby songs at least, when they're like coming together.
Yeah.
So you have to trust, you know, each other and the other people you're collaborating with, and luckily we do. So.
Great. I think you've probably given a lot of inspiration to our fellow listeners
Hope so.
and people who are aspiring to be in bands.
Hope so.
So my last question before I pass you on to Wellington is, where do you see yourselves in the next few years?
Great question. Hopefully we're in transition now, because we just graduated and just moved from upstate New York, and we're moving to Northampton. So we'll be close by,
Oh,
but
awesome.
we're still, the apartment that we're trying to move into is like not done yet. So if anyone has like a lead on a cheap apartment, please let us know.
We see ourselves not dealing with landlords.
Yeah. But we're
Done.
planning, we've got a big like 3-week tour that's almost finished, booking for like Georgia, North Carolina, and Tennessee this November. But we're just trying to, you know, play as much as possible and all over. So
Awesome. Well, that's really exciting that the Valley music scene has you.
it's good to
so
be
I'm
here.
going to pass you on.
It's good to be here.
Okay, so when we were like going through what we could ask you, one of my favorite questions was like, what's more important for you guys to come up with first, the lyrics or the music?
Ooh.
And when you guys were talking just before about like the skeleton and that, but like what part of that like contribution is like most important to you guys individually? Like,
It's a good question.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know about more important, but I find that I start writing with like a line. It starts with a line, so like the song you played earlier, It's All Right Brother. That was kind of like the first part, and then from there the song kind of started generating, or another song that's on the EP, Better Half. Just like I was going through, like I was in like a crappy relationship and thinking about how like, you know, you call it like, oh, this is my better half when you introduce someone, and like I need a better half. So like kind of cheap, you know, wordplay, and then spinning from there. So for me, at least, it usually starts with like a line of a lyric. So.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That's really cool. What about you guys?
I come from more singer-songwriter background, so I would say for me the music's more important. It takes me a while to write lyrics, so you know I have an idea of a song and an entire structure maybe of music, and then I bring that, and then we kind of get that settled, and then maybe that will inspire me for lyrics or something. And I would say, yeah, I mean, I'd say that, like, I studied composition in college, so I think that I have a good idea of, like, the entire big picture of, like, you know, creating not just small details or, like, oh, I'm going to do this part, but seeing the entire big thing, like, in its entirety, and that helps me write.
I'm so bad at that.
Me too. I'm kind of new to the songwriting aspect of the group. I'm working on my first one. That would be just mine. But I love arranging, and I love when these guys bring stuff in and figuring out a harmony or figuring out some hits. So I love adding to other people's stuff, which can be dangerous or can turn out really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess as far as like words and music goes, I come from mostly like a jazz background, and so you know there's not a lot of words and a lot of jazz music, so I'm kind of like more focused on the music.
Yeah.
And so you know, so just like when I inject the lyrics in there, I just kind of try to do like interesting, intriguing lines, you know, mostly just to get people confused. I've had Jeremy's parents actually be like, they want to like lay me down in like a psychiatric just like we have to figure out what the song means, but it's just I'm just trying to make it sound cool. But,
Yeah.
but I feel like with Matt, he's more like starts with a story, and you know, which I like want to get more toward doing. But he, you know, the song like is the lyrics kind of, and so we that process is different for all of us, I think. But it turns out in good and bad ways, you know, it just makes a different song.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's just really cool how, like, balanced it seems between you all and that kind of, like, working off one another.
Yeah.
But, also I wanted to ask, what's actually been your favorite venue to perform at?
Good question. Yeah, there's a like on-campus apartment. There were on-campus apartments.
Yeah.
Grammar.
And,
Yeah, we're not. Don't listen to our lyrics.
There was this on-campus apartment where the outing club lived at Skidmore. It was called Oak D, and a bunch of our friends lived in this
It was
apartment.
probably as big as this.
Yeah.
Right here.
Wow.
And it was,
Nice.
but it was like one of those places that
Palace.
was like you set up really quickly because it's like on campus, so campus safety can come right there. So you set up really quickly and text a bunch of people, and you play as many songs
Oh my
as you can.
God.
You play like every song is your last song that you're gonna play that night.
Because-
And if it ends up being an hour and a half long, then
Man.
it's the like.
And we
it's the
don't-
most fun.
There
It's
was
just-
one night where they do the campus safety does rounds, so like they
Oh,
do
yeah.
a round at like midnight, and we'd be like, all right, they just left. We got
And
5
we-
minutes to set up. Set up by 10, like 12:10,
Yeah.
and they're gonna come back around at 1:00 a.m.
We
So we
nailed
got
it.
an hour, and we nailed it, and we packed up by 1, and nobody even knew.
Yeah, we had
So
like
awesome.
inside. One of our friends was like the residential leader of like the village, like the apartment
Yeah.
village, so he kind of like had the inside.
He knew when they
scoop,
were
but
coming around.
It was very mission
It's very well
impossible.
done, actually.
Yeah. It's well coordinated.
Most
So, like,
effort.
those were great, and they were
It was
just like
Ocean's
packed
11,
and
really.
sweaty, and like everyone was there, and it was like the place to be. But then, other than that, we've had great shows at colleges. We played here last spring for another Night Fest event, and it was awesome.
Middle
so-
East and Cambridge was my favorite.
Yeah, playing in Boston.
I like would see bands there in high school,
Yeah.
so it was pretty cool to be on stage playing.
But it feels good to be back here. You guys are always great to us, so it's fun to be
Yeah.
back.
I mean, we're glad to have you back here too.
Good,
But
good.
yeah, actually on that point, like apparently I don't think I was here for your performance last year. But apparently it was like raining
It was
and
raining
like
a little bit.
awful like outside
Yeah.
weather. Like how do you think it's gonna be like this year?
Fingers crossed.
I mean it's
It's,
We'll
it's,
see.
it's beautiful out there.
This is quite
Yeah.
It's gonna be rain or shine outside.
Yeah, okay, rain or shine outside. I was just, okay, here's my one bone I have to pick. Last year, right when we started playing, the cupcake truck that was hired pulled up and the place empty.
Yeah.
Cleared out. We were like,
Oh.
oh man. And we were like ready, like, should we just like take a break?
Yeah.
Like, go get a
Ryan actually left.
Yeah.
and he was in the truck and he got cupcakes.
Yeah.
it's like well eat them.
It's like music or cupcakes. And
Definitely should have gone
I
cupcakes.
think
Yeah.
people chose the right. They made the right decision. So
They're
we'll see.
delicious.
We barred the cupcake truck from coming
Yeah.
today. So
Yeah, and
hopefully
if they
stays
come
back.
again, we're ready to fight.
We're ready. We'll be in
Right.
front of the line.
We
We
never
just
look
have
at
like
it.
a cupcake / like instrumental war. Like
Yeah,
that.
we could just put him on the front of the stage.
After
or
every
something.
song, everybody
Yeah,
gets
hey, absolutely.
Just have, like,
Yeah,
chucking
And the song's
cupcakes
over,
out.
you get your cupcake.
Wait for
This is a
all.
long song.
Good work. But other than that, it looks like it's going to be outside, which is
so.
perfect because the weather's been so hot.
It'll
Great to
cool
be
down,
outside.
hopefully.
Sweat a little bit, get our dance on, things like that. So.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, well thank you for talking to us.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
and
much.
on that
Thank
note,
you.
we're going to just let our listeners hear a little bit more of your songs. So, which song? You have these 5 to pick from. Which one do you guys want to show everyone?
Apocalypse?
Apocalypse?
I could feel Apocalypse right now.
The
Yeah,
Apocalypse? All right, everyone. This is Otter's song Pocket Lips, and you've been listening to 91.5 FM WMHC South Hadley.